We got somebody on the line who has a lot of accolades under her belt. So let's talk about it. A young, passionate woman by the name of Mrs. Kiddist Cowans. Are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
I like the name Kiddist. That's your first name?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Wait, your mom or your dad gave you that name, Kiddist?
My dad did. It's an Ethiopian name.
Because it's a... Oh, okay. So do you know what the meaning is?
It means holy.
Ah, okay. All right, so he was already blessing you from birth. Now, talk to me, first of all, about your upbringing. I like to start there for a reason. Tell me about what growing up life was for you.
Okay, so I grew up in Waltham Park, Kingston 11. Some people will call it the ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with my mom, dad, and grandparents and siblings, of course.
Yeah.
I can say that I came from a humble beginning. My mom was a teacher, well, she still teaches.
Yeah.
And, being the child of a teacher, you know how that goes, right? You have to stay on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
My home was a Christian home, of course. So it was church every Sunday morning, all the extracurricular activities at church. So I grew up in the church as well. And, just having that family network together, what we call that now, the extended family network. So there was brothers, grandparents, mom and dad. Yeah. And so I believe that I had a great foundation growing up, that has
you
set
actually
the tone
did.
for where my life is right now.
That's actually why I wanted to start there, because, there are a lot of parents out there that listen to this show, that listen to this station. And a lot of times, a lot of parents like to deny how important consistency is in their child's life. They like to deny the fact that they weren't there to help the kids with the extra lessons is not a reason why the kid isn't where they should be. And these are things that are actually needed if you really want your child to see their full potential. We get that there's a lot of single homes and parents who are struggling, so they got to work multiple jobs. But talk to us from your perspective about how important having not just the extended family unit, but more importantly, that consistency of, all right, your learning comes first. Okay, yes, we're going to stay within our religion and we're going to be very continual in that. Talk to me about what that consistency means for where you are today.
Right. So I mentioned that I did have that very strong foundation. And what is important to Nikki is that we understand, as you said, that there's two parents for a reason, Yeah. There's a mom and dad for a reason. I mean, I had an experience just even recently, for example, where I was at work, engrossed in work. It was 2:00 and I was like, oh crap, Jesse has to be picked up from school.
Yeah.
Which is his pickup is 1:30. Yeah. I remember that 2:00. If his dad wasn't around, he would have been a child left at school for half an hour, not picked up. But because he was there, he could have picked up that slack where I, fell off.
Yes.
And so even in growing up, it takes two. And back in the day, I don't know if it still happens now, but we learned that it takes time for you to raise a child. And so being in that community of family and, your neighbors were okay to correct if they started doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If you're on the bus coming home from school, adults will correct you. And so all of that would have helped to make sure that you walk the straight and narrow, that you kept things in line.
Exactly.
And growing up with that, I didn't go astray. I didn't have a chance to go astray.
No, somebody will be around to find it.
I always had eyes on me. Exactly. I always had eyes on me. And so knowing that I have that, responsibility, or that, this, I have to walk the straight and narrow, I knew I had to keep in check. So that has helped me to chart the path to success that I now have.
Yeah, but even a lot of kids who do have both parents and who walk the straight and narrow, let's be honest, you guys do find your naughty time to experiment with life. Let's be real.
Of course, we do. But at the same time, and
you have
the
more
good
voice,
thing is that you have the voice that's telling you, okay, this is not so right enough. I used to party. I used to party and go up to the sunrise and all of that.
Yeah.
But I knew at the end of the day, I had my balance.
Yeah.
And because I know I had that foundation, I came right back to the core.
Yeah. And somebody to talk to, right?
Straight, once you have those, exactly.
Yeah, because
once you have those core beliefs, you'll always come back to them.
Yeah, that the somebody to talk to part is also something I think a lot of young people growing up are missing, because sometimes, like I said, you'll have a parent that works so many jobs that they don't really have a lot of time to hold or don't really know how to balance their time to hold certain conversations. But then you also have the different types of parents who you try to talk to them, but they're only set in a certain mindset. So it's like they don't hear you. They don't hear the words that are coming.
You can't get through to them.
Right. So, and I don't think a lot of people understand how important and how you literally could be changing the whole streamline of your child's life by not giving them these very important things. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that is why mentors are very important, Nikki.
Yeah.
And you would have seen in my bio that I founded a foundation a couple of years ago. And one of the main focus is that we try to get young persons and we try to keep, encourage them and to let them know that, listen, there are distractions out there, but you have to stay focused.
Yeah.
And if everyone can find even one person who they look up to as a role model and emulate that person, hold them as a mentor, then we can probably fix half of the issues that we have in our homes today.
Listen, what you just said is so pointed and important. See, if you don't have somebody that is a role model around you, I would definitely suggest, first of all, you understand what it is your interest is, and then start submerging yourselves in those in those environments. Exactly. Be the annoying person. So if you're interested in something that seems as simplistic as being a barber, that is a work of art. Go to barbershops, sit there, analyze how they deal with their customers, how they're cutting their hair, who gets the best responses. Just do that. Right?
Exactly. There's a saying that said, birds of a feather flock together, right? Mm-hmm. And it means that when you're in that space where people are doing good, where there are positive influences around you, you can only do but positive things.
Mm-hmm. But if you surround yourself with a bag of junk, then that's what you're gonna be, and that's just the fact. No other way to put it. No other way to put it. I'm just, and this is what I keep trying to tell people. Your brain is a computer. So if you're constantly putting all the wrong things in your brain
that's
is going...
the only thing that's going to come out.
That's what your brain is going to process.
Garbage out.
Exactly. So we have a young lady here who grew up from humble means. However, I would say it's luck nowadays that you had that blessed family you have that everyone should technically have. You still use that upbringing where you came from a less than rich neighborhood, a less than having means neighborhood, and was able to accomplish so many things, even the youth award. How did that come about, and what was that moment like?
Okay, so I received in 2017 the Prime Minister Youth Award for Excellence in Service. And again, alluding to the fact that in 2016, I would have formed a foundation along with a friend of mine, Matthew Crawford, geared towards youth empowerment and youth development.
Yeah.
And within that, basically 1 year period, we were able to impact over 2,000 youth.
Nice.
We had back to school events. We were going to schools and doing mentorship talks. We were, everywhere we could get young people to influence and impact them positively, we were doing that. And so I was nominated for the Prime Minister Youth Award. I went through an interview process, a selection process, and I got the award at the award ceremony. It really meant a lot because sometimes you're doing work and yes, you are helping people, but sometimes the extra validation, you know how we say in Jamaica, encouragement, sweet labor.
Yeah.
And so having got that award, it showed that, I'm doing what I'm doing, and there's somebody who is seeing and noticing that, listen, that girl is making an impact. Let me encourage her to do even more. And so it was really a great moment to be able to have been awarded by the PM.
Yeah, and you know what? More than just Jamaica has recognized you, you've gotten recognition for the United States in a big way. Tell me about that as well.
Right. So again, in same 2017, I was selected from over 4,000 applicants for the Young Leaders of the American Initiative Fellowship Program. And that program was launched when Barack Obama came to Jamaica in 2015. Mm-hmm. That was because of my work with the Good Deeds Foundation. I was selected. I think there were 8 persons that year from Jamaica who were able to travel overseas. We got to see how businesses were run in the U.S. I was sitting in rooms with the heads of corporations, Fortune 500 companies. We were visiting the U.S. Department of State. it was just, really huge for us. We spent 6 weeks in the US. We did about 3 different states, and we were able to learn best practices of how to run businesses.
What did you learn over there that you would love to see more businesses implement on the island?
One of the things that was very that stood out for me in that experience was how much persons used mentorship, one, and what's the word I'm trying to look for? Reaching people where they are.
Yeah.
So I was assigned to the Goodwill Industries in South Bend, Indiana, for example, and there was a program there called Gang Violence Intervention Program. And what the GVI program does is it goes to these gangs on the streets,
Yeah.
and they talk to them where they are.
Exactly.
They weren't inviting them to come into the Goodwill Industry. They were going to them out there on the street corners where they are, talking to them, reaching out to them, and then bringing them in. Once you create that buy-in and you create that interest from them, then you are bringing them in now to have the whole transformation take place. So I think that if we have a more hands-on approach, the way we look at things like that in Jamaica, we will do so much better.
And more efficient, because quite honestly, the productivity of a lot of businesses costs that same company money. You go into a restaurant and they're dragging their feet to serve you. They're not even moving, barely.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you on that. Before you go, though, there's something I love to push to the listeners. And I say it repeatedly, and I say read. I always say read. Oh, I hear the baby. Don't worry, don't worry. But I always say read, because like I said, for me, your brain is a computer. Would you agree with, the fact that reading can help a lot of the problems we see in Jamaica? People, if they've read
Nikki,
more.
I was remembering a couple of days ago, when I was about 11 years old, my dad gave me this book to read. It's The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale.
I know that one.
At 11 years old.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been reading that at 11.
Exactly. And so, again, I go back to the fact that the way we're socialized has so much to do with where we become. Because I know from that age was willing to rewire my mind to think positively in all situations. And so it has become a part of me now. No care how bad or how dark or how sad the day might be, I'm going to have a positive attitude. You're not going to know what's going on with me because I try to exude the positive thinking.
Yeah.
And so a book, I learned from a book at a very young age. And so if we even read more now, if kids go back to reading, and we don't have to read actual books now anymore. It's easy for us now. There are audiobooks.
Yeah.
You can go on the go. You can go on YouTube and play a book and listen to it as you go along.
Yeah.
And those nuggets that you pick up from that will make a difference for you.
Absolutely.
So definitely reading is very, very important and crucial.
Yeah, and just like I said to the listeners, because I had somebody approach me and say, you're always saying read, but you never say what to read. I always tell people you have to figure out what your interest is. Because I can tell you to read a book and it bores you to death. But if you find something, you got to find something that stimulates you to want to hear more about it,
Definitely.
All right, well, what are you
I'm currently reading Will by Will Smith. That's a good read.
Say it again. Which one?
Spoke about Will by Will Smith.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's about his upbringing, and of course he also grew up in humble beginnings, and about how what he went through as a child has shaped who he is now as an adult.
Well, I'm gonna suggest Long Way Gone by Ishmael Bey to you. That one is an amazing one of a guy who was raised in a very volatile part of Africa, and he basically had to flee because the rebels came and raided his village, and he's now in the bush trying to survive as a kid, falls in with other kids trying to be safe, and he becomes exactly what he was running from. And and it's a true story. Like Ishmael Bey, it's really his story and how he had to get reprogrammed.
Definitely gonna check that.
Long Way Gone by Ishmael Bey. That story I read as a teenager, and it definitely changed my mindset in a big way, because I'm like, there are people that have been through some things that I don't even think I would have survived 2 days of. So for me, that was my book that said, nah, things do get better, and you got to get out of your headspace sometimes. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Be stronger.
That's right.
So, yeah, okay. Anything else you want the listeners to know? How can we help with what you're doing? What movements are you pushing now? Fill us up.
All right, so I currently run a business that is gifts and decor, and what I try to do is through that business and what we earn from that business is to help to give back.
Yeah.
So you can find me on Instagram, Kiddist Cowans. I'm on Instagram as Jesse's underscore gifts underscore decor. And if you feel any way that you want to donate to any cause, just hit me up. I'm also the president of a Kiwanis Club,
Yeah.
and we do projects that are geared towards young persons and youth as well.
Mm-hmm.
So hit me up on IG, and we can get it from
You
there.
say
Get it
gifts
going
and
from
decor,
there.
but this says personalized gifts and branding. Be specific, lady. Be specific.
So
You
this
out
is
here
gift and decor.
branding.
We do personalized gifts, branded items, home decor items.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a gift, if you're thinking about a gift that is going to be long lasting and impactful, sentimental, this is Gift and Decor is the place to go. And of course, you were just awarded the top Gen Achiever from the Scotiabank.
Nice.
So we're still on a high from that. We went through a whole 17-week coaching program and we emerged on top. So big things are happening right here in Jamaica.
Well, I'm
Support
going to
small
be
businesses.
calling you to make my Christmas purchases in advance before the rush gets started.
Sure. We're ready and waiting, Nikki. Ready and waiting. Check us out.
Absolutely. Kiddist Cowans, she is a chief executive officer. She is definitely, I'm not going to say an overachiever, but she's over a whole lot of the average thinkers achiever, and definitely a proud member of Nerd Nation. I love my nerds all around the world, so big up to you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Nikki. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
blessings to all your listeners.
Before you go, tell everybody why it's so awesome to be a nerd.
It's awesome to be a nerd because you get to live your dream. Like anything I want to do right now, I can achieve it because I put my mind to it and I have done the work and I get the results of it.
Yes,
so yes, it's good to be a nerd. It's cool to be nerdy.
Absolutely. And by the way, a lot of nerds, ladies, I keep trying to tell you, a lot of the nerds you see in school, date them because those nerds be turning out to be the real deal's Holyfields.
Exactly. Be a nerd.
Look, my engineer's like, yup. Tristan's like, yup. Nerds are the way to go. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we hope to speak to you soon again. Tell us all about what you got going on.
I'll be here. Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful evening.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.